My name is Ramiro Nava. I am the Education USA advisor in Monterrey. I also cover the states of Tamaulipas, Coahuila, Zacatecas, and Durango. Today, we have reached the final part of the pre-departure orientation session, and I am excited to guide you through some essential topics to help you navigate on how to maintain your student status and the exciting challenges of adapting to a new culture as you prepare for your journey as an international student. We will be diving into important subjects that will help you make the most of your educational experience in the United States. And before I begin, I would like to take a moment to congratulate each and every one of you who will be studying in the United States this year. Guys, you have successfully made it, and your hard work and determination have brought you to this last step. So, congratulations. Um, and well, guys, this is the agenda where we're going to cover some essential topics that you need to consider before your departure. So please pay attention to this information and well, let's get started. Uh, what are the essential documents to pack before your departure? I would like to mention the importance of having certain documents ready before you depart your departure to the United States as a student. These documents are really important in your academic adventure. Let's go over why each of these documents are really important. The first document is your passport. Your passport is your primary form of identity. So always make sure that your passport is valid, is up to date, and that will not expire during your intended stay in the United States. Or have your passport valid for at least 6 months prior to your departure. Then we have your student visa, which will be required at several stages, like for immigration clearance and enrollment at your chosen university. Then we have the I-20 or DS 2019 format. These documents certify your acceptance and enrollment as a student. You will need them to enter to the United States because it contains like essential information like when the program is going to start, when the program is going to end, and it also addresses financial details and of course information about the program of study. On the other hand, we have the service, which is a record that contains like viral information about your program and your immigration status. It is very important to have your studies paid and with your information in order to maintain legal status. Another thing that I really recommend to students is to have the university contact and their letter of acceptance. They're really important because these documents will help you establish communication with universities, international student office, and of course, it will provide you necessary details for your arrival. And of course, if you need orientation, you will have that information ready. Then we have the plane ticket. Without it, we cannot fly, and it's really important to have it. So you can have it like either like digitally or printed, but always have a copy with you. That's very, very important. And cash. Cash is something that is beneficial, especially upon your arrival. It can help you cover immediate expenses like transportation, meals, and other emergencies. So always have cash with you. But there are also some important things to consider, and there are some recommendations that us as advisors give you to help you safeguard your stay in the United States. So our first recommendations as advisors is always to please make extra copies of your documentation for your passport, your visa, identification cards, service, etc. They are really, really important because they are not only essential for you to be identified as a student or individual. They are also used for various administrative processes in the United States. So if you have those backup copies, you can have if you have those backup copies, they can be like a lifesaver in case of loss or theft. Another recommendation is to keep your documents in a waterproof folder. You might be wondering why. Well, sometimes there are unexpected events, for example, accidental spills, bad weather conditions, or anything that may cause any damage to your documents. So make sure to always have those documents secure in a waterproof folder to protect them from any damage, and they will be ready and accessible when you need them the most. So be careful with that, guys. Another valuable recommendation is to save the contact information for your university's international student office or designated advisor or consular or faculty staff. It is really important to know that they can offer you assistance with academic difficulties and cultural adjustments. So keep in mind that if you have those numbers or if you have those contact information, you will always have someone to turn to when you run into problems or questions. Um, and when we're taking a flight, which is another recommendation, uh, when you're taking a flight, some unexpected changes may occur. So always having you a copy. It could be either like I said, digitally or printed, but always have them. You never know when you're going to need them. And please arrive at the airport 3 hours before your flight. Remember that all international flights recommend you to be at least 3 hours prior to your departure. And please read all the information the airline provides you so you can be knowledgeable about any changes or like policies. And my last recommendation is not to carry large amounts of money, because if you are carrying too much cash, it puts you at risk for loss or theft. So whichever impacts on your safety and financial stability, do not do it. I recommend you to diversify your payments, like your payment choices, like cash, credit cards, or any debit cards as an alternative. Um, and well, those are our recommendations as an advisors. Of course, going through that process, we're now going to take a closer look to the certificates of eligibility. What are they, or what can we find in this type of certificates? Well, these documents are really important for international students like you guys because they play a big part in the immigration process. And don't worry, I'll explain a little bit. The Form I-20 and the Form DS 2019 are two major type of certificates of eligibility. These documents or these certificates are a formal proof that you qualify for a specific benefits when you are studying in the United States or taking part in an exchange program. So the Form I-20, for example, is issued by the institution you have been admitted to. And it is like a special paper that tells the US government that you are allowed to study there. Inside the I-2019, you can find some important information about your studies. It also includes your personal details like your name, date of birth, where you are from. It also has information about the school you're attending, like its name and a special code that is addressed for your university. And the Form I-20 also tells you when the program is going to start, when the program is going to end, and what you will study. And lastly, it shows that you have enough money to cover your tuition fees, living expenses, and other costs related to your education. So now, for example, the DS 2019, it's a certificate for students who are participating in exchange programs, such as research scholars, professors, or students, and offers. It's like a document that proves that you are eligible to be part of these special programs. And inside this form, the DS 2019, you'll find similar information to the Form I-20. It has your personal details, the program, when the program is going to start, when the program is going to end, and other information about the organization or the sponsor program or the sponsor of the program. So to sum it up, the certificates of eligibility are essential documents that prove you are eligible to study in, or participate in an exchange program in the United States. Okay, so now let's move on to the next slide. What happens when you arrive as an international student in the United States? Well, just imagine you took your flight, you safeguard your documents, and everything was performed as we advise you. And what would I do next? What would I do? So, well, when you arrive to the US, you will be asked to follow the signs that led you to the immigration checkpoint. You will go to the Department of Homeland Security, where the immigration officer is. The officer is going to give you a warm welcome to the United States, and the officer will ask you for essential documents. And what are those essential documents? Well, those are the ones that we already talked about. The officer is going to ask you for your valid passport, your student visa, your DS 2019 or I-20 format, your SEVIS, and in some cases, your letter of acceptance. Remember, guys, to tell the immigration officer that you are entering the United States as a student. Show them your visa. In most of the cases, this visa is attached to your passport. So let the immigration officer know that this document, know about this document. And if there is something to show, like your SEVIS, show them. The officer is going to examine each document you're presenting and ensure that everything is in order. So the officer, a few minutes after it's checking these documents, the officer is going to take a picture of you, and it will capture some fingerprints. And the officer, after that, is going to stamp your passport or SEVIS. So remember that the stamp is like a symbol of entry, and you are now ready to immerse yourself in a new culture. And well, there is something I think I'm forgetting, but what do I need to, or when do I need to travel to the United States as a student? That is a common question that students ask. This is a very nice question, but the answer is that you can enter to the United States as a student 30 days prior to your starting program. In some cases, when you are going to leave on campus and your place is not ready yet, well, then you need to find a place to stay while you are while everything is setting up on your campus. So please remember that and ask your institution when you arrive if everything is ready. If not, prepare yourself to book a place. And in many of you will ask, who can I contact for information? Well, like I just mentioned, always contact the International Students Department. They are the ones that will basically help you with everything you pretty much need. And if you are invited to a welcome orientation, please, guys, go. There you'll find many resources for you to have a smooth transition in your studies. Okay, and well, now we are going to explore a little bit of what to expect with academics, administrative, and community landscape. Well, first, we are going to discuss several important aspects of academics. Here you can see a list there. Let's take a closer look. Um, in the United States, some classes may provide more individualized assistance for you. So remember, guys, that when you, it depends on the institution you're attending, but please accept both conditions, like if you're taking classes in a bigger room or in a smaller room. Remember to accept both conditions, because regardless of the size of the class, you have the ability to interact with professors and enrich your learning experiences. In some cases or in some scenarios, you have the opportunity to build a stronger relationship with your professors. If possible, guys, take the advantage of the office hours to seek guidance, ask questions to your professors, engage in discussions. That would be the best. And because that will open you doors. Another important thing is teamwork. Uh, it is the key for your studies, because many courses place a strong emphasis on group projects and collaborative tasks. So accept the opportunity to collaborate with peers, and allow yourself to learn from other viewpoints, that you will also give, I mean, that you that also would um, give you a way to improve your communication skills and boost your problem solving abilities, for example. In some cases, universities have like a writing centers that provide assistance with various aspects of your writing, structuring essays, refining your arguments, or improving your grammar and style. Um, Maybe here in Mexico, we're not used to that, but by doing so, like improving your grammar style and everything that could be related to improving your skills, your writing skills, try to always reach out to your university and ask for writing workshops, peer review groups, and libraries. Libraries, guys, are your key. Always visit your library and ask the librarians to assist you in finding relevant resources. Another recommendation or another important thing to consider is plagiarism. Like any other country in the world, plagiarism is forbidden. I recommend you to introduce yourself first with your institution's academic integrity regulations, and make certain that you understand how to correctly use your citation. I recommend you to keep your academic integrity intact, and please contribute to the intellectual community by doing so. And like I said, use your libraries. They are a treasure. They would give you vast research materials, databases, and study spaces. So make use of them, guys. And now on the administrative side, we have your dean or academic advisor. They are the ones who can guide you throughout your academic career. They can help you with course selections, your academic preparation, and dealing with any issues you may have. So uh, it's always important to keep this in mind, and always reach to them when you're in in need of that. So another important thing is to always be aware of scholarships and grants. Um, as you study in the United States, you will be surprised about all the scholarships, grants that exist for students like you. These scholarships can be for excellence, for performance, for need-based, merit-based, minorities, etc. So take the advantage of those. And please be informed about those benefits as a student while you are on campus. Another thing is internships. Internships are another valuable aspect of your academic journey. This can provide you hands-on experience of whatever you're learning in class. Please always research internship programs like related to your field of study and apply for those positions that align with your interests and goals. Um, Also, remember about service learning, volunteering opportunities, and conferences. Try to participate, because when you participate in those events, you will always, or that you will allow yourself to present your research findings, engage in some discussions with experts in your field, and you can gain exposure to the latest developments. So take that into consideration. And well, when we're talking about community, it is always important to remember that your campus always becomes your second home. Why? Because you will spend a lot of time in campus activities, clubs, and organizations that align with your interests. So you will engage in events, sports, cultural activities that will help you connect with other students. So consider that as a networking way. Um, it can help you to open so many doors during your time as a student. And remember, it is not just about what you know, but it is also about who you know. So keep that in mind. You will spend a lot of time in your school and your institution. So that will become your home. And another like vital thing is you will be immersed in an English speaking environment. Um, if you engage with native speakers, you will allow yourself to learn natural speech intonations or pronunciation. You will practice your English everyday life, and practicing your English skills in real time and over the time, you will become more comfortable expressing yourself in English. Um, and as you interact with people from diverse backgrounds, you will see that you will gain like a deeper understanding of American culture. You will learn about their traditions, their values, their cultural knowledge, and that will help you create empathy and adaptability. Okay? And well, now we are going to go to another interesting part of this session, and it is called taxes and employment. Yes. Well, as an F1 student visa, you have specific employment options. The first type of employment is work on campus. This means employment allows you to work for a maximum of 20 hours per week during the academic year in, for example, in a library or another departments of the campus. So these will provide you experience, and it also, for example, if you want to see if you, for example, if you want to see it like that, it can help you connect with campus community, and working for campus make like contribute for your financial needs as well. And yes, you can be paid for your work. Not as much as you wish, but it could be like it could be helpful. Yeah, if you cover some expenses working on campus. Um, the second type of employment is called curricular practical training, or the CPT. The CPT is an opportunity for you to work off campus, and it could be related to your field of study. So there are like certain requirements and guidelines that you must follow if you are seeking like a curricular practical training. First, to be eligible to the CPT, you need to have you need to have a completed you need to complete, I'm sorry, you need to complete at least one academic year and receive approval from your designated school. So the CPT can be part-time or full-time. It depends on the program and requirements. And it can provide you like a practical experience that complements your academic learning. Lastly, we have the optional practical training, or it's more well known as OPT, um, which is available for graduation. The OPT allows you to work in the United States for a period of up to 1 year directly related to your field of study. And it is an excellent opportunity to gain hands-on experience. Um, and you have the chance to apply your knowledge in a professional way. So, if, for example, if your degree is a STEM, which is something important, you may be eligible, if I'm not mistaken, for an extension of 2 years. So making a total of 3 years of OPT could be very helpful, but just check that on your institution. And yes, and always ask your international student office, and they will give you like further information about the OPT as a STEM student. And now let's briefly touch on the topic of taxes. It is well known that when you work in the United States, whether it's on campus or through your CPT or OPT, you have certain tax obligations. It is really important to understand your responsibilities and fulfill them according to the US government. Um, as an international student, you may need to file a tax return and report your income. So sometimes sometimes the tax rules can be complex, and it's advisable to look for assistance from your university. And they have like a specialized departments that can help you. Always, anything you need, guys, your university's international student office are there to support you and guide you through to the process of employment and understanding the task your tax responsibilities. Now, I want to address an important topic that concerns many of you as international students. And for example, if you want to understand tax obligations to ensure compliance with the law and avoid any issues, listen to this. When are you required to pay taxes as a student? Uh, when you earn income from your work in the United States, it is necessary to pay taxes, but it is essential to distinguish between paying taxes and filing taxes. Paying taxes is the act of submitting your tax payments to the Internal Revenue Service. This happens when you earn income from your work in the United States, such as on-campus employment or certain type of financial awards. You guys will be required to pay taxes on that income because you have been paid for employment in the United States. On the other hand, filing taxes in Spanish is like presentación de impuestos, and it refers to the process of submitting your tax forms and documents for tax authority, which is also the Internal Revenue Service. And there you will you will be required to report your income, your deductions, your credits, and other relevant information about your income. This will help authorities to determine if you have paid the correct amount of taxes based on your financial situation. For example, if you are receiving tuition-based awards, such as scholarships or fellowships, you do not have to pay taxes on that amount. But if you receive substantial award that exceeds your expenses, you are responsible for paying taxes on these excesses amounts. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say you have like been awarded a scholarship to cover your tuition expenses for the academic year. The scholarship amount is $20,000, and your tuition expenses, or sorry, your tuition for the year is $15,000. Since the scholarship is directly used to pay for your qualified educational expenses, I'm talking about the tuition, you don't have to pay taxes on the scholarship amount. But let's imagine that you receive an additional scholarship, I don't know, $10,000 on the top of the 20,000 that you already had. Well, this additional award exceeds your tuition expenses. So that is like leaving you with an excess amount of like $15,000. In this scenario, we're considering the $5,000 for your scholarship that were, I mean, and $10,000 extra on your tuition. So this may be subject to pay taxes. Please know that this is just an example. Uh, Always consult with your university and clarify the tax implications associated with your specific award or financial support. Um, Remember that the universities in general offer like resources or support to help you navigate the tax process. They may offer like softwares that are specifically designated to assist with tax preparation or provide guidance on where you find or on where to find reliable resources. And filing taxes is an annual responsibility for you guys. And the tax year in the United States ends on April 15. So it is really important to familiarize yourself with the process and ensure that you meet the tax filing deadline each year. Do not leave everything at the last minute, okay? And another important thing is that not every student in the United States gets a social security number. Instead of that, students may be issued an individual taxpayer identification number. I think it's called ITIN. Uh, what I know about it is that if you are from a country that does not have a social security system similar to the United States, you are not eligible to have a social security number. So and in that case, as you will be earning like income in the United States, and you need a unique identifier for taxes. In this case, you can reach the university to understand the progress or the process to obtaining an ITIN. Then some essential documents like are necessary to present to the office, like your passport, your visa, and there is a form that is called the W-7 form, which is the application for the ITIN. So once you have your ITIN active, you are now ready to comply with your tax obligations. So please, guys, make sure to reach your university for guidance in this matter. It is like really important to maintain a good status in the United States. So now that we know all this, like what are the essential documents we need to pack before our departure, or what to expect in our academic life, what documents and biometrics the Homeland Security Department requests from us, there is something that I would like to share with you, and it's cultural shock. As an Education USA advisor, or as Education USA advisors, we're always there with important guidance to give you, I mean, the best advice in how to adapt to a new culture. You may be wondering why it is important to be advised about cultural shock, or before, I mean, what is important to be advised about cultural shock before embarking on our educational adventure. Well, studying in the United States offers you an incredible opportunity for personal and academic growth. You will be exposed to diverse range of cultures, ideas, and perspectives. However, with this exciting experience comes the challenge of adjusting to a new environment, which can sometimes lead you to cultural shock. So, what cultural shock is? Well, cultural shock is the feeling of confusion and discomfort that you may experience when you go to a new place with a different culture that you're own. It's like when you enter to a room and everything looks different, sounds different, and feels different. So imagine you are used to like eating certain foods, speaking a certain language, and following a specific customs in your home country. Well, but when you travel to a new country, everything, everything changes. The food tastes different. People speak a language that you may not understand. I'm talking on other international students, or and the way they behave or the things they do may be unfamiliar to you. So cultural shock is like a normal reaction to this new and different environment. It can make you feel confused, lonely sometimes, or even anxious. But you know, sometimes you might miss your home, your friends. It's normal, and your familiar. I mean, and your familiar things that you're used to. And it's like being a whole in a whole new world. But don't worry, cultural shock is temporary. It is like a part of your adventure and exploring new new cultures. So with the time, with patience, and if you're open-minded, you'll start to adjust and adapt to a new to new costumes, traditions, and of course ways of life. You will make new friends, you will learn the language better, and become more comfortable with your surrounding. Remember that cultural shock is an opportunity for personal growth and learning. It helps you like become more open-minded, and it helps you with your understanding, and you get more adaptable to things. So embrace those differences, ask questions, be curious about the new culture, but with respect. And before you know it, you'll feel like more at home and enjoy the exciting experiences that come with immersing yourself in a different culture. So if you ever feel a little bit overwhelmed or out of place in a new country, remember that cultural shock is normal, happens for everyone. Take it as a chance to learn, grow, and expand your horizons. So you'll soon discover that these differences that once seemed strange will become like the beautiful and enriching aspects of your global journey. Okay, so now I would like to I want to highlight like some of the factors that may contribute to your experience of staying in the United States as a student. these factors can play like an important role in shaping you in an American culture. Let's briefly explore each of them. Um, for example, climate. Uh, the climate in the United States can vary depending on the region you're in. It is like really important to consider weather conditions such as temperature, seasonal changes, and those changes can like impact your daily life and activities. So be prepared and adapt to different climates and dress according to the season you're in. So for example, let's imagine you are a student from Merida, and we know their temperatures are like you're living in summer the whole year, and you have chosen to study in a university located in the state of Minnesota, and Minnesota has different seasons throughout the year. In the summer, temperatures can raise up to 30 degrees Celsius or even higher. So that is the moment when you enjoy like outdoor activities like picnics, swimming, and exploring nature trails. But as the summer transitions into fall, the weather starts to cool down, the temperatures like gradually drop, and you will witness a beautiful autumn with leaves turning vibrant shades of yellow, and you may be like happy with that. But as the winter comes, it can be quite cold with temperatures like often dropping below the freezing point. Uh, you will experience a snowfall, and the landscape transforms into like winter wonderland. So the cold air, the snow, and icy conditions are very different from what you're used to in your home country. And this can have like several impacts on your daily life and activities. The cold weather can impact on in like your social interactions, for example, and you may find yourself spending more time indoors, which can limit your opportunities for socializing. And it might be frustrating, but remember that it's just a matter of time to get used to it. It could be very hard at the very beginning, but this cultural shock will pass and you will be okay. Another thing that is really important is English. English is the official language spoken in the United States. At least everyone speaks English there. And we know English is not your native language. You may encounter some challenges in communication at the beginning, but try to be open and learn and practice your English. This will help you overcome language barriers and enhance your overall experience. Remember to always communicate with respect with other classmates, and because that is really, really important. And in talking about that, about the social roles and norms, they can be like very different from what we're used to here in Mexico. Um, it is really important to observe and understand social dynamics and expectations in the United States. So be open to learn about personal space, ratings, and appropriate behavior in different social settings. Try to familiarize yourself with the local laws, regulations, and cultural norms in the state you're in. If you respect these rules, you will avoid unnecessary conflicts, okay? There are some values that the American society also places importance on, and it is individualism, equality, and independence. Um, Knowing this, you will understand the perspectives and behaviors of those around you. Okay? So try to learn and observe everything you're experiencing. And adjusting to a new environment can sometimes create a stress in relationships, both like with fellow students and with individuals from different cultural backgrounds. But it is really important to be patient. try to understand, to be open-minded. I know I'm sounding repetitive sometimes, but it is really important to consider these things, because when you're interacting with others, you are building relationships. And I know it takes time and effort, but it can be very rewarding and enriching. Okay. And remember that you are an international student as well. It is natural to experience some level of cultural adjustment. So embrace this opportunity to learn and adapt to the new environment. Seek support from your resources available on your campus, such as the International Student Services or cultural clubs. They can provide you with guidance and help you navigate these factors. And these phases are the phases that you're seeing on the screen are a normal part of adjusting to a new culture, and can be varying in duration and intensity for each individual or each student. So let's explore each stage. The first one is the honeymoon stage. This is the initial phase when you arrive in a new country, because everything seems to be exciting, and you may feel enthusiastic and curious about the new culture. You might be fascinated by the surroundings, the people, and experiences. But during this phase, you may have a positive outlook and feel very happy, optimistic. But then cultural shock appears, and you may start encountering unfamiliar costumes, values, and ways of life. This can lead you to feelings of discomfortation, frustration, and even loneliness. But like I said, you may experience a sense of being overwhelmed and by the differences in the language, the social norms, the food, and the daily routines. But this stage can be very challenging. But as you may miss your home, I mean, if you miss your home country like an outsider, it's normal. But if you go to this stage, you will experience those things. So then the gradual adjustment stage starts. Over the time, you are going to begin to adapt to a new culture and gain a better understanding of the local costumes and expectations, and you will start developing strategies or to become more comfortable with the cultural differences. You may seek support from your fellow students. Uh, in this stage, you will engage with cultural activities, or you are going to take language classes to enhance with your community. This phase is marked by so many stages, but you are starting socializing, understanding different stages, trying to identify the different cultures that surrounds you, and that's what the gradual adjustment stage is. But then when we overcome this gradual adjustment, the adaptation stage appears. In this final stage, you have successfully integrated into the new culture, and you feel a sense of belonging. And there you'll find you have developed meaningful relationships, you become more proficient in your language, and you feel more comfortable with local customs. So you have a deeper understanding and appreciation for the host culture, while you are maintaining your own cultural identity. So this stage is very important, because it's this stage that allows us to continue uh, personally and of course academically in our life as a student. It is really important to know that the cultural shock is a personal journey. Not everyone experience the same. Some may experience a smoother transition, while others may find certain phases more challenging, but it is crucial to seek support from your university. And you will see that the adjustment process is going to be very, very easy. And well, now we have finished this section. But before I finish, it's my pleasure to introduce someone who is going to share some important things about her experience in the United States as a student. So please welcome, guys, Paulina Bautista. She has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Education at University of North Texas. So Paulina, say hi.
Hi, can y'all hear me? It's good to see y'all.
Hi, Paulina. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Always my pleasure to be here.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for us to have you here. Before we start, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more of what you studied, what you're doing now. Tell us everything you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you already mentioned a second ago, I'm Paulina Bautista. I majored in education, and I graduated from the University of North Texas, located in Denton, Texas. I began studying my undergraduate degree back on fall 2019, and I graduated on December 2022, which was super exciting. And currently, I am still located in the DFW area, and I'm currently on my OPT period, which you explained about a little bit ago. I'm doing my OPT, and I am an educator. I did middle school, during the first half of my OPT, and I'm going to be moving to elementary pretty soon, which is super exciting for me.
Nice. And do you recommend us to study in the United States?
Yes, I do. And I recommend you to stay in touch with Education USA because honestly, most of the advice that I got to apply for universities and everything came from Education USA.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And well, as you may know, I was talking about cultural shock and how to adjust to a new culture. And I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
I am.
That's nice. Okay, how did you experience cultural shock, or what did cultural shock look like for you?
Well, that was a whole experience. That's a really good question. See, because for me, studying my degree in the United States has been a dream of mine since forever. Like ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to study in the United States. But of course, moving to a different country is like a brand new experience. I mean, after all, I moved to Texas back when I was only 18 years old. Back then, I thought, like, yeah, like I already graduated high school. I totally got this. I was still a kid at 18 years old. So that's that on one end. And I feel like that whole experience made me grow up at a time where I may or may not have been completely ready to grow up, right? So I just kind of threw myself out there. Like it was very weird, especially during the first few days, because it's one day you're like at your parents' house, used to like, your life in Mexico, living at home. And then the next day you wake up at a dorm room and you don't really know exactly where you're at. You're going to get lost somewhere in the hallways 30 minutes after you wake up. And there's a complete stranger standing in the room across from you. So it's a little bit weird at first, but I feel like I have the hang of it over time. It's really not as bad as it might seem at first. It at some point it feels like you kind of have to start life all over from scratch. And I really mean that. I mean, even with the smallest things that I didn't really think I would have an issue with. For instance, language barriers, right? I came here to become a teacher, right? I specialized on teaching English, right? So sort of like an entry level requirement to become an English educator is to have mastery of the English language, right? Which I did. But sometimes I came across like words that were kind of hard to say, things like jello, for example, like gelatina. Sometimes I would totally forget the simplest things, like how do you forget to say jello? And I had to like ask my friends, like, hey, how do you call this thing? Like it's this dessert that's kind of like wiggly and transparent. It was awkward sometimes, but people were really nice about it. Also, I remember this one time where I was talking about taking money out of an automatic cashier. People were so confused. What is an automatic cashier? I meant an ATM, right? So it's like all of those small things that you don't really think about at first, but they might be like, it's experiences that are going to mark you across the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
honestly, probably the hardest part of culture shock for me was reverse culture shock, which is basically like this experience of, like you go to a new country and you're there for a while, then you go back to your home country, and then everything feels completely new again. Right. The first time I went back to visit Monterrey, like after starting my undergrad degree, was after my first semester at UNT, which it wasn't even 6 months after I had moved to Texas, right? So it was so weird at first because, I went back and the streets looked different. Some places had closed down. There's this theory in English learning that, when you speak, depending on the language that you speak, you may have like almost like a different personality, right? So I kind of felt that when I first went back to Mexico. It's like, oh, like I cannot be my English speaking self anymore. But you get used to it over time.
who did you turn to when you were suffering from cultural shock?
I think I was very lucky to have like a lot of people to turn to, during the whole process. For starters, like my family. I always try to, and that's something I recommend, like try to limit your calls home like as much as you can so that you can like enjoy yourself out there. But of course, I still called home, right? And my parents were always there to support me. They were always there to listen to me during the hard times. I also had like I met a lot of people during my first semester. I mean, during my entire degree, really. I made some really good friendships, and they were always there. Willing to listen. They became like pretty much my entire support network. While I was studying over here. And there's also like a bunch of resources that you're going to find on campus when you move here as an international student. For instance, I always had the support from the International Affairs Office at my university. They were such a wonderful resource. Like they would always host like events for international students. They would have like these panels where they would talk about culture shock, give opportunities for international students to meet each other. And of course, like the local students were also welcome to join, which was nice to get immersed in like the culture. They had like sessions with counselors to guide you through the process of culture shock. I think we met like once a month. And speaking of counselors, that's something that another resource that I had to turn to, the counselors at the university, which is really like kind of like an informal word for therapy. I feel like many people, especially in Mexico, like people might be scared of like hearing the word therapy, like, oh, like, is there something wrong with me? But the truth is that they're really there to help you. I decided to sign up for like counseling because I knew that culture shock could happen to me, right? So it was always nice to like have that resource to turn to at the university, free of charge. It's included in your tuition. So if you have the opportunity to sign up for that, I would totally recommend it.
That's very valuable information that you're giving us, guys. Guys, please take note about that all the resources that you can get from the university. But can you please tell me, Vanessa, how did you overcome cultural shock? When was the first time you realized that cultural shock was gone?
You know, it was like a whole experience. Sometimes it's kind of like hard to track like a very specific moment where I was like, oh, like I'm going through culture shock. Like I feel like for me it was more about like the hard times, like obstacles that came you know, like during my undergrad degree, COVID being like one of them, right? You know, like, but really, I feel like it didn't really take me that long to adapt. I have this very particular memory of my first time coming to the US because, well, to study my undergrad, because the very first time I came to the university was for my freshman orientation, right? So I came with my mom and, you know, we just came to the university. She just came here to make sure that I was actually at the right place, and then she went back home. And I stayed there for the full 3 days of the course. And it was the first time we were at the university. We didn't know anybody. I had seen maybe a few pictures of what the place looked like. But as soon as we got there, I just kind of knew where to go to. It was a very weird experience. Something inside of me told, I don't know, it just kind of kicked in, and I told my mom, you know what, follow me. And then I found exactly where I had to be without help of like a map or anything like that. So honestly, for the most part, I always felt like very welcome in the university and in the culture. But of course it takes time, because like there's always going to be like those moments where you're like scared to talk to people. You don't really know what to do, who are the right people to talk to, who's really going to be your friend. But you just really kind of like figure that out over time, and you just have to put yourself out there. So honestly, like the more I threw myself out there in the university, the more comfortable I felt.
And did you see anyone else having a hard time while you
Oh,
were
absolutely. Absolutely. And this is like not only from international students, it's also from the local students. I feel like as international students, we tend to think like, oh, like I'm all by myself over here. Nobody understands me. Nobody's going through the same things I am. But the truth is that there's a lot of people there who are not international students, who might also be like a little bit lost and confused about what to do, right? I was at a very large university where there were a lot of people who were coming from, you know, like places that were close to the university, but there were also many out-of-state students. There were students who were from Texas, but they came from places that were even farther away from my home in Mexico, right? Because Texas is just so big. And so honestly, like especially during the first semester, the first few weeks, everybody's just trying to meet people. So you're not alone if you ever feel that way. But yeah, like in terms of like my other friends who are like international students, yeah, we all went through the same thing. Of course, some people felt culture shock more than others. I have a friend who went to like freshman orientation recently, and he was like very confused. He didn't know anybody. He didn't know how to register for classes. He was freaking out. He was like, no, you should have come to orientation with me, which of course I couldn't do. It was not my orientation. But yes, I feel like one thing that we might have to our advantage as people coming from Mexico, especially if you're like from the north of the country, is that we kind of have that proximity to the US, where there's maybe unconsciously enough cultural exchange, or at least enough exposure to the culture. So I feel like that's going to help you out a lot.
and what was something that absolutely shocked you about the host culture?
This is going to sound very, very superficial, but for me, one of the things that shocked me the most was American college fashion. American college fashion, it's still one of those things that I don't quite understand 100%. Because see, you're gonna walk around campus, and I feel like the average outfit for anybody who's studying at university is wearing like an extremely oversized t-shirt, short shorts, and Crocs or flip-flops. If it's
Okay.
maybe like the winter months, you might want to trade your t-shirt for like an oversized sweatshirt and leggings, right? I remember watching videos from like other students who went to UNT saying like, oh, when you're packing, like when you go to university, make sure you only pack like a few t-shirts and shorts, maybe some leggings. That's all you're gonna wear anyway. I was like, no, that's not what I wear at all, right? I remember this one time, I went to one of my classes. It was one of my history courses, freshman year, and I was wearing what I considered to be like a normal outfit, like just some shirt that I had laying around, some jeans and some flats. And I had one of my friends, he saw me and he asked like, oh, like, are you going to a party? This was a class at 9 in the morning, by the way. He was, are you going to a party today? And I was so confused, like no, what are you talking about? He was like, yeah, because you're like so dressed up, with the fancy shoes. I'm like, fancy shoes? These are my oldest shoes. It was so weird because everybody's so used to seeing everybody wearing Crocs. I mean, last time I checked, Crocs were not even like trendy in Mexico. Maybe that changed. But I remember Crocs being hideous in Mexico. And when I said that in the US, I just got weird looks from everybody.
And what was something that you absolutely loved about the host culture?
One thing that I loved the most was, I mean, it definitely has to be Texas hospitality, or Southern hospitality for that matter. For those of you who are going to any states in the South, it's basically, kind of like this notion that people in the Southern states in the US are going to be like very welcoming, like trying to make you feel like you fit in and, like being super nice to you. I was lucky enough to have that experience. I understand like maybe not everybody has that experience, even if they're like in the South of the country. But I feel like I was lucky enough to kind of like experience that with Southern hospitality. And I experienced that like from day one when I went to orientation. Like I mentioned a while ago, I went to orientation with my mom. We came on the bus, because this was Texas. And although my university was in North Texas, it was still close enough to like for me to be able to take a bus from Mexico to UNT, right? So, since it was like our first time over there and I was only going to be there for 3 days at first, we didn't bring much money. We didn't have a car, right? And so we were just planning to go walking from this from the bus stop, which was, by the way, a literal gas station, to the university. On Google Maps, it said that it was like a 30-minute walk. We were like, 30 minutes can't be that bad, except, like people say everything's bigger in Texas. So we were walking by the Interstate 35, like a pretty big road, right? My mom spots a car that's driving towards us. And I was very confused. And the car, in fact, stops in front of us. It was like a married couple. And this lady asked, like, hey, guys, like, do you need help? Do you need like help with anything? Where are you going? I was very confused. And I had to do all the talking because my mom doesn't speak English, right? So I told her like, oh, we're fine. We're going to the university. I didn't specify where, but it was obvious that it was to UNT. She said like, oh, like we can help you out. Like, do you guys need a ride? We can help you go there. That shocked me completely because I was like, why would I accept help from a stranger? Like if that happened in Mexico, I would, it wouldn't end well, right? I feel like that's what one would think, unfortunately. So I translated that to my mom, and to my surprise, she says, "Sure, let's take the ride."
Okay.
So we just got into into a car of strangers, which, by the way, if you're about to go to the US, please don't do that. People are nice, but I would not encourage you to like just hop into a stranger's car. But we got there and they were like really nice to us, and they started talking about like their sons who went to college. Some of them already graduated and with married with kids. We told them a little bit about ourselves. But they were really nice, and we made it to the university safely. So I feel like that's what I think of Texas hospitality. That's the thing that comes to my mind.
And that's a very nice experience you had. But I'm gonna go back a little bit to the university. Can you please share with us all the support that the university can provide to international students?
Yes, there's like a lot of resources out there. Sometimes people don't know about it. Especially coming as an international student, I feel like there's a lot of departments at the university that we don't even know about because at least in Mexico, we've never been exposed to those, right? Even things like the writing center, which you mentioned. At least things that, to the best of my knowledge, it's not very common to find in universities in Mexico, right? But in terms of support towards international students, I would totally recommend for you to like stay in touch with the International Affairs Office. It might go by a wide variety of different names, maybe International Services, International Office, International Scholar Services, whatever you may call it. The staff over there is wonderful. I have no words to explain like the gratitude I have towards everybody working for international affairs, because they always create a lot of events, like I mentioned, to meet other international students, but also for you to share about your culture. They always had like events highlighting different countries. And of course, I always signed up for those. I brought my Mexican flag and my huge charro hat with me to share a little bit about my culture. So it's always great for like cultural exchange. They really make a big effort to provide those opportunities. What else? Of course, the immigration office at the university, because at some point you're going to have to stop by the immigration office at your university, right? And it doesn't have to be for anything bad that's going on with your status. It's always just a good idea to check in with them, make an appointment, make sure that you're like on track and always on status, to avoid any kind of problems in the future. They're going to be like the best guidance for you. There's also going to be services like the scholarships office, right? Whenever you go to ask a question about like scholarships or like grant opportunities, you really have to make sure that you ask very specific questions, because maybe if you ask like a very broad question, the person who's talking to you might give you general information. But if you have something very specific in mind, don't be afraid to ask. That's another part of culture shock that I experienced, like asking questions to the university. At first, while I was during my application process, I was very hesitant at times to get in touch with the university because like I wasn't really expecting anybody to pick up the phone or answer the emails, right? That's the idea that I had when I thought of getting in touch with an office at a university, right? Like them just not replying at all, right? But it's completely the opposite. Like I swear, like there's a lot of people whose job is literally to answer questions for you, right? So take advantage of that, and take advantage of like all the services that are going to be available for you, because they're going to be more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Paulina. We are now reaching the last the last minute of our presentation. But before we end, do you have any other recommendations for students or anything that you want to share with us?
The biggest recommendation that I have would be get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, the fact that you're going to be studying in a different country means you're already out of your comfort zone. So why not just like really be out there? That's basically the way that I was able to not only make some of the most valuable friendships that I have, but also to have access to like a lot of opportunities, getting to know better like the professors that I had in the classroom, having an even wider access to scholarship opportunities, even like having the opportunity to like be pretty much fulfilling my dream of becoming an educator here in Texas. I wouldn't have done all of that if I had stayed like in my comfort zone, in my bubble, like really like explore everything that the university has to offer. There's a lot of resources out there and a lot of things going on that you really don't want to miss out on.
Thank you, Paulina. I'm 100% sure that your recommendations and your experiences, your own experiences, will inspire older students that are here with us, and you will help them like with your experiences to overcome these cultural barriers. And guys, like Paulina said, always ask your university for assistance. That's really, really important. But now we're going to go, Paulina, to the questions of the audience. So this is the part where we respond questions from our um, from our students. So here I have a question for you, Paulina.
Yes.
Did you go chronologically in all the phases of cultural shock?
Not exactly. Sometimes I joke about this with my friends, but I feel like for the most part of my undergrad degree, I was in a constant honeymoon stage. It's like I just got into that honeymoon stage and I never really got off. Of course there were a few times where I did experience like a bit of the others. Like where I was like caught up in the process of like understanding all the cultures out there, where I was like a little bit almost in denial of like understanding what was going on. But it was like for the most part like honeymoon, 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 maybe another stage, honeymoon, honeymoon, honeymoon. It was a funny process for me.
Well, do you enjoy this experience of seeing everything like new and exploring those I mean opportunities you had to interact with people, to interact with your fellows, right?
Absolutely.
That's nice. And well, I have another question. I think that's for me. And here is what is the difference between SEVIS and the I-20 or DS-20 active format? Well, the SEVIS is like a special it's like a special system that the United States government uses to keep like track of international students and exchange visitors. It's like a big database where they can store information about your student visa, your academic program, and other important details. So the SEVIS helps the government and schools make sure that everyone follows the rules and stays in the country legally. In comparison to the DS 2019 format and the I-20 format, they are a piece of paper that the school gives you to international students like you. And it is a special document that provides that you are accepted into a program at a school in the United States. It includes important information about you, like your name, like I said, your program, when the program starts, when the program ends, and how much money you have to support yourself while you are studying. And another question that I see here is, can you help me with my visa interview? Well, as Education USA advisors, we cannot do that, but we can advise you on how to prepare yourself in in a general way, with all the documents necessary when you are applying for your visa. Remember that the consular officer is the one who can assist you with that. They are experts in this process. They are the ones who can conduct the interview. They know what to ask. And I can tell you that with other advisees that that I know, they have shared with us that during the interview, the consular officer asked them questions about what they're studying in the U.S., how long it would take them to complete their program, how will who will be paying for your studies and personal expenses, and if possible, it is important to answer these questions honestly, and provide any necessary documents of proofs to support your answers. So I think we don't have, so I think, yeah, we cannot help you with that. I mean, with an interview, because we're not a consular officer, but we can help you have your documents ready to help you with some recommendations, and that's what we can do as an advisors. Um, and Paulina, I think that we don't have any more questions. Just let me double check. Okay, we don't have any more questions, but I really appreciate your time here with us. Everything that you shared with us is really, really important. And well, it was a pleasure, guys, to give you this essential information about adapting to a new culture and maintaining your status. If you want to reach our department for more information for example, or about start your research for universities, I can help you with that. Just send me an email and follow us in our social media, because you will find a lot of resources there that can help you navigate easier in your way to study in the United States. So, Paulina, thank you very much for your time once again, and I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for staying in touch.
Well, guys, see you.